Hi, I'm Darin Burns, and welcome again to my podcast, 61 Never Forgotten. This is a podcast about my life and the journey that I've gone through. And the moral of it is don't let society tell you who the hell you are. You tell society who the fuck you are. So going forward, we're about positive energy and making changes in people's lives and having some good laughs along the way. It's going to get dark. It's going to be and light. But today, I'm passing the mic over to Steve. We're going to get into a sensitive subject today about my brother and reconnecting and bringing him onto the show. My brother's been through a lot of hell through his life and witnessing what happened to me. I've never had an opportunity to talk to him in the time. We've won 30 years without speaking. We spoke for a couple of years and then 15 years. So the trauma that happened in my life and his life, every time we get together, it's a reminder of shit that's gone past, and this hits both of our PTSDs that we both suffer from. So today we're going to talk with Steve. Steve's going to work with me on how the hell we're going to get my brother on the show and how we're going to conduct ourselves doing the show. So Steve, thank you. The mic is yours.
So, how much older are you?
I am 4 years older than my brother.
4 years older. And so you guys went through a lot together as kids. When did you stop talking to each other?
Uh,
You said for 30 years.
We grew up. So I think it was Christmas Eve, 1977. I was in the basement. I was out playing hockey with some friends on the open rink. There was around 12 of us. And one of the kids brought a bottle of baby duck wine, which is almost like Kool-Aid with 5% alcohol. And there's 12 of us. And we're all taking a swig of the baby duck on Christmas Eve. And there was a minister, a piece of shit minister, Baptist, who saw me with the guys, so called my stepmother, who is a Baptist, and said that I was drinking alcohol on the rink and blah, blah, blah. So when I got home, she got my father so riled up that my father was angry. And prior to that, my dad used to always kick the shit out of me. My father had me grab me, threw me to the ground when I was in the basement putting my hockey gear away. And he had me pinned on the floor with my arms braced back with his knees pressing my arms down, and he was punching me in the face. He broke my nose, knocked out a couple of teeth, and I had Helen sitting on standing on the stairs, cheering him on.
Helen's your step.
Pardon me?
Helen was your stepmother at the time.
Yeah, she was a piece of work.
How old were you when this happened?
I was about to turn 13.
13. Okay.
Yeah, and I ended up getting my arm free and slapping my father, and I ran upstairs to my bedroom. And then they tied the doors up and they were keeping me in there. So I was trying to jump out the window on the second floor. Finally, the police were called. They took me away for my own protection. And I was spent Christmas Eve that night in a jail cell, literally a jail cell, until they could get a hold of the Children's Aid Society to take me in. My father was never charged. Back in those days, you didn't charge. It was called a parenting thing. I had to go to the hospital, and I was placed in a care where they would do assessments. So that was the last time that I saw my brother. My father told my brother that I was gone. He didn't tell him what had happened. He had said that I didn't want anything to do with him and I wasn't his brother anymore. So
wow.
I never got a chance to say goodbye to my brother or do anything. I saw my brother 3 years later, and he came and stayed. I had my own apartment, and he came over and I cooked a dinner. I was like 16, he was 12. And we talked about things. And so you could really see how my father was really trying to control the narrative of us. He lie about this, lie about that. So he turned the tables on my brother and I. So I saw my brother then. So he was 13. I saw him again later on when he would have been in his early 20s. We hung out for about a year. Then we went 15 years without talking. we connected again briefly. And then it's been 30 years that I never saw my brother. My brother, I was playing football in Hamilton, and I managed to I found a number to reach him. And so he actually came to watch me play a football game at 59 years of age. 59, yeah, I was 59, 59 when I was playing. He came to watch me play my game in Hamilton, and we hung out for a bit. And since then, we've seen each other maybe 3 times in the last 2 years, but we talk maybe once a month. But we find that it's very difficult to look at each other and not think about the shit that we went through. So I know this is going to be extremely difficult episode to do. I think this episode, if we're looking for sponsorship for the podcast, I think Kleenex would be probably the big sponsor, and we'd probably sell out a shitload of Kleenex with all the listeners, because it would be a very emotional episode to talk about the abuse. You know, he was never raped like I was, but I always look at things in different ways. You know, rape is one thing; it messes with your mind. You know, I had my nose broken and my jaw broken by my father. It heals, the physical side of things, but the emotional side really took a toll on my brother. My brother became homeless for a while, living in his car. You know, he's had a really hard life.
He was homeless.
Pardon me?
How old was he when he was homeless, living in his car?
I would say he was in his late 30s going forward for, quite a few years. And then he got used to it. So then he got a job, started working again, and he saved money and he stayed in the car because he was comfortable till he got enough bankroll behind him to get his own place and to try to build himself back up, which, I'm proud of the kid. He's survived through it. He has issues in relationships too, like the trust and all that kind of stuff. He's got 2 girls. He's, estranged too from one of them. He's never really gotten help that he needs to face this. He's a tough son of a bitch. I'm going to take away from him. We talked this morning a little bit, and he's hesitant to come on the show right now, but I think that with you and myself, we can talk to him and get this episode to happen.
Yeah, I want to be sensitive to your brother, because I don't know what's going on in his internal world, and what it's been like over the years. Mm-hmm. I want to know if it's safe for him to come on a public show like this.
I think once he gets around to it, he's going to be fine. Like I told him, I said, when he does come on, and we talked into this idea that he's going to be on, I said, this is your opportunity to stand tall, be tough, and tell your story and scare the shit out of the people that, that are still living, that affected you, and the funny thing about it is we take a lot of anger on our father, which, he was a piece of shit. My mother owns a lot of that responsibility too, because she wasn't around. And, we talked for an hour, and then I hung up with him, and I texted him after. I said, and we forgot about the bitch. Why aren't we talking about her as well? I mean, that has a lot to do with your development as a kid. Like we didn't have parents that said we love you or proud of you or any of that kind of stuff. So, I was fortunate. Like I told my brother, I said that, how our lives changed is that you had a piece of shit, our father, and I had Bruce Smith. So my life changed dramatically, even though, my brother got beat up a little bit there, but his was a real mental torment. And I had raped over 200 times. I had this, I had that. So it's really awkward. And my brother sat on the sidelines and saw things that happened to me too. So, that's got to have some traumatic experiences for him as a young child to see what happened to his big brother. So it's really messed him up. And, again, we talk about abuse. If we don't fix ourselves and we have kids, it just keeps on going and it keeps on going and stuff like that. So that's why it's so important that we have these conversations, we talk about it, because if I can't fix myself, like my father beat the crap out of me it's easy for me to give the excuse that I can get away with beating up my son because it happened to me. I've never laid a finger on my son or my kids. I don't believe in the violence of that. And one of the strongest things that I go to is that I have to break the chain. Like even when I was younger, it's really weird because I do reflect on things. I said, if I get kids, if I get this, if I get that, the physical things that happen to me and stuff like that, I vowed that I want my kids to be better than me. Even my daughters I don't talk to, they're doing better than what I was doing in life because I gave them that opportunity.
Hmm.
My oldest, I did some real estate deals. She made, a few $100,000. It was able to get her a home and do her thing. I bought cars. I did that. I don't know how to be a parent, but I know how to buy. So I did that. That was wrong in my opinion of doing all that, but that was the only way I knew how to show love.
I mean, it
My
wasn't
son,
wrong
hmm?
in and of itself. It wasn't wrong in and of itself. It just, without the ability to be an engaging, loving, like connected, empathic father, that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah, and that I blame on my parents, my mother. I mean, mothers,
On,
mothers, I
on,
believe, in my opinion, you correct me if I'm wrong, but mothers show you emotion and sympathy and the love and that sort of thing. Like all boys always say, "Well, I love my mom." I want to thank my
yeah.
mom.
I mean, ideally, both parents do that.
Yeah,
Ideally, both parents are empathic and loving and caring. And
well, I'm
it's,
happy for my mom today. I guess she lives and stuff. I know that she's got 2 kids and she's got grandkids. She has nothing to do with my brother and I, but I'm glad that she's got that. It pisses me off though that I never got that. It's like I think I talked to you about this before. Is that when I was staying with my uncle, I was 7 years old, so my brother would be 4, and my uncle just got married. They're expecting their first child, but to take pressure off my grandparents, my dad had fucked off. Uh, I got to stay with him, and in that first week of staying there, I was really messed up. And the next door neighbor, they had a doghouse in the backyard of their home.
mhm.
And I went into the neighbor's backyard and I literally fucking destroyed the doggos. I smashed the shit out of it. I had pieces everywhere and all that kind of stuff. And my uncle was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I couldn't answer him at the time. But later on, I explained to him. I said, you know, a dog has a home and I don't. That's not fair. So I
Right.
destroyed the doghouse. To I don't know why, but that's what I did. So that's how messed up I was at 7. Can you imagine going through the bullshit that my brother and I went through at the Salvation Army, destroying, gasoline and all this other shit on top of that? I mean, it's really messes you up. And we needed help. We both needed help. We needed help when we were in the Salvation Army to try to undo, and none of that ever happened. Um, so we never had the opportunity to get ourselves fixed. So then we develop layers, protection, and mechanisms. And like you said, I've got 2 types of PTSD. One is I can suppress things. Well, I'm thankful that my brain was strong enough to try to control that with all the anger. And my brother's the same way. We both have severe anger. And like if anyone ever screwed with us back in the day, physically, I was always scared that I'd kill somebody. I mean, I'm being 300 pounds and I can hit you like a truck. So, you throw all that PTSD anger into the situation, it makes it bad. So, you know, we need to get fixed. We need to have the understanding. And so I'm just hoping that my brother, can get on the show and talk. And at least that's his first step in maybe
How
trying to fix
different,
it.
how different is his personality from yours?
I, we were very similar in a lot of ways growing up. But I met the big, beautiful, bold Bruce Smith that gave me, when you walk in a room, everyone looks at you, attitude, and all that kind of stuff. And I
Yeah.
kind of inherited that from Bruce. My father was a coward piece of shit that would just beat up women and children. And my brother got filtered in that lifestyle. So my brother became more of an introvert, um, less confident in himself because being with my father and Helen would strip all that shit out of you. So for me, like I said, Bruce had saved my life and got me fixed, not
Yeah.
fixed, but got me to a point that I was able to manage through it all. And my brother, his idol was my father, which he was never an idol, but that's all my brother had as an influence. So that's the biggest difference between my brother and I is Bruce Smith. He never got a Bruce, you
He
know?
never got a Bruce, and he was living when you were playing professional football,
Mm-hmm.
he was living in his car.
Yeah.
And, you
And I
have an
didn't know, and I didn't know that he was doing that at that
oh,
time. I
I know
knew that
you
we
wouldn't
were
let it
exchanged and stuff like that because we weren't communicating. Had I
right,
known that, I would have shut from the monkey tree up because I'm his big brother, and my
of
job
course. Right. Go ahead.
is to protect him. I didn't get that opportunity. So from that standpoint, it eats at me that I didn't do that. And because of that, we don't really have a relationship like brothers looking out for each other or what have you. Instinctively, I'll take care of my brother, but we don't have that brotherly bond. He's the only person on the planet. I got my kids and stuff like that, but he's the only person on the planet that has 100% of my blood,
Right.
and it's a shitty show that we're so estranged from each other, not because of what we did, is what everybody else fucking around us did.
So
And
so let me say a few things, right? Your personality is high energy.
yes,
Personality is outgoing. Your personality is your trauma. You learned in your teenage years, you learned to cover over your trauma with high energy.
yeah,
High, and to pump yourself up into high energy. That was what made you a good football player for so
yeah,
long. And even when you and I are talking, um, that high energy turns into it here. Even in this conversation, if I didn't interrupt you, you would keep talking the whole time.
yes,
And that is a way to compensate for trauma.
yeah,
So there's anxiety and trauma on the surface, and there's the feeling inside that it can drag you down
yeah,
into a dark, awful place. And you learned to pump into high energy and try to stay in that high energy as much as you could in order to keep it behind you. It's
yeah,
always chasing you,
yeah,
and you had to keep that high energy going to stay ahead of it. Your
mhm,
brother is not the same way. He doesn't have that high energy to run into and protect him from that.
mhm, yeah,
He's in it, and his way of dealing with it, I haven't met him, and his way of dealing with it is to hide, is to go into a dark hole,
yep,
right? And so it's the opposite way of managing trauma.
yep,
And yours says, I'm going to overpower it.
mhm,
I'm going to become intense, and it's not going to catch me,
yep,
right? Even though it really was always there in your
mhm,
mind.
yep,
Is like I can't, you know, I got so much to deal with inside that I just go in myself.
yep.
And right. And
He,
and so
he,
so coming on a show like this fits your personality. It fits the way you manage trauma.
mhm,
And it's the opposite of the way your brother would.
yes,
And so you want to have this public meeting because you love him, you care about him, and you want to, have him part of your life and have him
mhm.
on has he been in therapy before? Is he in therapy now?
He's never been in therapy. And this morning we talked on the phone a little bit, and I just told him, I said, our lives, we only got a little bit left in our life. And you, we have an opportunity to make some changes. And I want people to see what happens if you don't fix yourself. And I want people to see what assholes in your life can do as to children that carry on later on in life, and that it affects the different layers. It affects the parenting, it affects this, it affects that. You know, I am so angry at those people that did this. And it's a system that allowed this shit to happen, you know, breaking us up, taking the kids this way. Like when you got siblings and, you know, you like Lucas was on the show and he was talking about, you know, him with his two sisters and they're all broken up. They don't have a relationship. They're older, this and that.
Right.
This whole system has to change. You got people making decisions because they've got educations behind them, but they've never lived the shit that we go through. So they have no fucking idea what really goes on, what goes on in my head, because they never experienced the trauma. Now, there are some people out there that have gone through it, got the education, and they're doing something. And God bless them for doing that, because that's what we need. We need people, and we need people that policy people to make decisions because they've gone through it, so everyone can understand it. You get people who've got this degree, I've got this. Have you had kids? No. Have you had this? No. Well, then what the fuck are you doing in this job if you don't have any of this experience? How are you going to help me? How am I going to believe in you? You know? So I'm hoping this podcast and my message and the people that I bring on, because I'm going to bring on heavy hitters onto our podcast that have large audiences, that we can get this message out and get some politicians and some people with some balls to try to fix this stuff and allow the proper people to fix us. Because what's happened to me and my brother, it's not our fault.
No.
It's the people around that were supposed to care for us as kids, and they didn't do it. And it angered me.
And those people had things wrong with them because of things that happened to them, and the people that hurt them had things wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
One generation after another, people.
And we got to break it. We got to cut the chain.
I agree. With your brother, what we're talking about though is like when you're with him, when you're talking to him on the phone, what is his personality like, and what is your personality like when you're communicating with each other?
I actually feel like I feel like he's my brother, you know, and when we talk about it, there's a connection there, but it's the wrong kind of connection. It's not like, geez, remember when we were kids and we were playing hockey or we were throwing the ball or we are doing this. It's like our connection is absolute horror. Like, you know, so it's really hard for us to have the conversations. It's like we talk, but it's superficial. It's not what brothers. I don't know, because I don't have I don't.
Do you both keep it superficial?
Yeah. But today I talked to him and I said, listen, this is your opportunity to be a 7-foot gorilla now and tell your story and tell the people what they did to you and how pissed you are, and come out with it. You know, get it out of you. Get it out, because I want people to see that, because if people see this and understand it, maybe we can crack through and make and try to.
I'm just saying, Darin, like, you're talking in your language.
Yeah.
Right. Your language is to be the 7-foot gorilla.
Mm-hmm.
You use that metaphor, you use that imagery, and that feels like overpowering the trauma, overpowering the hurt, and becoming a massive, powerful force. And that's not your brother's imagery.
No, it's not.
But he doesn't think in terms of becoming the 7-foot gorilla.
No, but what I was trying to.
I'm just listening to how you're framing it, so I don't necessarily. But what?
No, and you're right. And you're right on how you're framing it. But what I was trying to do with my brother was to get him to get the balls now. Like, listen, it's time to stand up. Stop turtling in. Stand up and tell it and get it out of you. Because if you're going to be scared to say it or don't want to say this and don't want to say that, I told him that when you get on the show, I mean, we're recording, we're not live, so people are not watching us. We're just having a conversation and getting it out. And I want him to get it out of him, because I know damn well I'm his brother. That's one thing. We have the blood. And doing this and talking with you and getting it out is making improvements for me in my life. And like, so a lot of people have always shunned away mental health doctors and all this kind of stuff. It's embarrassing. It's that there's nothing embarrassing about it. It's guys like you that save my lives, save lives like me, get us kind of going forward. And that's one of the things with this podcast, why you co-host with me, is that when we do these shows, you're my shrink and you're analyzing me as well, and you're helping me. It's almost like we're having a therapy session live on a podcast at the same time.
Yeah.
I want people to understand how important it is and how easy it is when you have that. But you got to be ready for it, and you got to have that ball. So that's why I want my brother to be that girl. Like, yes, this happened, this went on, and I'm pissed, and I need help, and
So
I want to make changes.
Yeah. You were removed from your parents' home at 13.
Yeah, thank God.
And then you lived independently.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Bruce as a present guiding force in your life, and your brother stayed with your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And he did not ever have in his adolescence that present guiding force in his life. He's probably never had it in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And so he didn't get the developmental experience of, having somebody that deeply cared about him there at a young age, and gave him something to focus on that he could develop. He had more scary, dark, depressive stuff during those ages.
Mm-hmm.
And his personality didn't get the influences at a young age that yours did.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking in the language that you learned because you had that, but he didn't. And so if you're saying you got to get up, you got to get out there, you got to go be the 7-foot gorilla, what your brother probably feels is like he hears that he doesn't feel like he can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like pressure to be something he doesn't know how to be, and he'll run away from it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because his psychology and yours are very different because you've had different influences. Also, you were the oldest brother.
Mm-hmm.
He was younger. And so, your personality and his personality, probably were very different from each other, even from a young age. So it's in order to, really work with people, you got to know how their mind works.
Yeah. And I'm learning that through you on how to deal with it. Because I'm always that person who wants to fix everything and do everything. And sometimes sometimes you got to have confidence in getting the other things. But the thing that I take from all this is that one of the, like, when we look at this podcast is about bringing awareness of what abuse can do. And if the kids don't get fixed at a certain point, it's also, I've got hundreds of thousands of people that have followed me because I'm an inspiration because of what I've accomplished playing football to the age of 61. But the biggest thing that I'm doing with this podcast, and that's why there's going to be some famous people coming on here that do things and make changes, is to show people how important mentorship is to kids in programs like the Boys and Girls Clubs or the Big Brothers and stuff like that. Because here's a prime example. I had Bruce, Pat had Linton. And that was cancer. And this was a pro athlete that took the time to affect the change in my life.
Right. So, with you, when I'm talking to you, you're so high energy, and it's not hard to get you talking. I don't know your brother. I'm just being intuitive here. I would imagine with your brother, it takes a lot to get him talking.
You are 200% right.
It's like, it would be like asking questions and he's got deer in the headlights, like, brain freezes up, like has trouble, really articulating it all.
Yeah.
And so the place he's coming from is very different from yours. And with every person we encounter, their mind you got to know how their mind operates.
Yeah.
And you got to start, from from within, like, and so, you know, I want to be, this is a public forum, you know, this is not therapy sessions. This
Yeah.
is a, you know, uh, this is an, you know, a display to whoever watches of, you know, kind of how to think about their own minds and how to
Mm-hmm.
think about the things they need and how to understand themselves. And you're being a, a wonderful example with the bravery of putting yourself out there for people to see. Part of it, though, is the recognition for people that might be watching is that, you know, you don't have to do it like Darin.
Mm-hmm.
You,
And I hope they don't have to do it like Darin, because what Darin did, quite frankly, looking back at the age of 61, was all ass backwards and wrong. I should have gotten help 40 years ago. I should have reached out. I should have
right,
done things.
right.
And that's one of the things that I want people to realize, is that don't wait like me. If you've had problems, anyone that's watching the podcast, if you've had problems, if you don't feel comfortable right away talking to a psychologist, find a friend that you can talk to the point that you get comfortable enough that you can talk to a perfectly stranger about your past and your trauma and stuff like that, because it's so important that you fix yourself younger so you become a better adult, and there's less collateral damage around you because of all the effects that you've had. That's
Right.
why I need to come forward. That's what Bruce always said to me. He said, Darin, you get a platform. It's what you do with your platform. And when he died, I told him before, I said I would honor him in some way. And that's what this whole podcast is about. It's about to honor Bruce's wishes and try to affect changes and stuff like that. I wish I listened to Bruce many years ago on some things that he said to me, and I didn't because I was bullheaded. But I'm hoping through this podcast that people can understand and see the effects that it has and the anger that I have. It's still 61 years of age.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What what guidance did Bruce give you years ago that you did not follow because you were too bold?
Well, he tried to get me to become a Christian. And if there's a God, where the fuck was he? You know, why did he let me get raped? Why did he let me get beaten? Why did he let me go through this? Why was I alone? Why was I this? Why was I that? That is one aspect. And when Bruce became a pastor, and because what happened to me at the Salvation Army really affected my openness to that. Let's leave it at that from that standpoint. The other thing that he asked me for, you know, like, and it eats at me. You know, before I mentioned that, there was my dad was talking to a person that I know, a gentleman, and my dad said, you know, they asked about me, and he said, "Oh yeah, well that Nick, you know, starts with an N,
Mm-hmm.
is around my son." And that person, though, to his credit, said, "Well, that N is doing what you should have been doing many years ago." So hearing that and knowing that Bruce took up the reins of being my father, and then Bruce asked me 4 months before he died, and even the last time I saw him when he only had like a couple of months left to live, asked me to forgive my dad. No
Yeah.
fucking way. I couldn't. I
Your
can't. I can't do it.
your
And
dad
I don't think
broke
I
your nose,
will.
and, like,
Hmm?
your dad beat you up on Christmas Eve and broke your nose, and you had to run away
And
from,
jaw. And jaw.
and
And
your
knock
jaw.
teeth out.
Yeah, and he knocked teeth out. You had to run upstairs. They had locked you in the room, and
Yeah.
you were trying to climb out the window to get away, and the police were called and had to take you away, and you never went back. So, you know, I don't know what Bruce meant by forgive your dad, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know his particular, like, the word Christian means, you know, lots of different things to lots of different people. I don't know what it meant to him. Globally, there are 25,000 different denominations of Christianity. in North America, there are close to 2,500. There's so many different ways that what that word means to different people. So I don't know what it meant to him, but I do know that the way it seemed that he was presenting it to you didn't make sense logically.
Yeah.
And that would have to be a much deeper discussion on what that meant, right?
Yeah.
But you know, but for your dad, like just forgiving your dad, well, you know, part of it would be saying the deep understanding that when your dad was a kid, he got in an accident and his brain got damaged. And people with brain damage, they're often not regulated well.
Mm-hmm.
Their emotions aren't the parts of the brain that are there to regulate other parts of the brain aren't working. And so they can't.
Mm-hmm.
They can't function like a normal person because their their hardware is damaged.
Yep.
But that's not the same as like saying, "Oh, what Dad did was okay." No, and what he did was really, really awful.
Mm-hmm.
It's to say, I don't know about forgiveness, but an understanding that your dad was a severely injured person whose brain did not work well, and he was really confused, and he was impulsive, and he also had other problems besides that in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be just the recognition that people operate from their own damage.
Yeah.
And I've never met anybody that chose their damage, that chose their pathology, that
Mm-hmm.
wanted to have it. They're all people that were damaged by other things. And so, I don't think of it in terms of just like some naive, forgiveness. I think of it in terms of something much more complex than that and much more difficult than that.
Yep. Yeah.
But so part of what we're talking about today is getting your brother to do what you're doing. We need to first figure out whether that's appropriate for him.
Yep.
And does that make sense? Because his brain is different from yours. And
no, I love him to death, and I miss him. And part of the collateral damage is that what my dad did to us is, I lost a brother too, in a sense that we never grew up and stuff like that. So there's many things that we have to go on, but I'm proud of my brother. I know we have to end the show pretty soon here, but and then hopefully we can get him on. If it's
appropriate for him, right?
Yeah.
So
and I'm hoping that we can get him on, and hopefully he can get someone.
It would be good for the world to see the different types of expressions of trauma.
Yes, and that's what we're trying to do.
All yours. It's
no, it'd be
it'd be good, like, because we had Lucas on, and Lucas's personality, his trauma is different from yours.
Yeah.
And your brother's is different from Lucas and you, and other people will have their own. There are patterns. There are patterns that people who understand these developmental things on a deeper level can read. But I would want to know your brother's his what is the best path for him. For you, you called yourself bullheaded earlier. But I don't know if I would necessarily call it bullheaded. What was being requested of you didn't seem to make logical sense to you. And also you learned to be the 7-foot gorilla, to rise up. You had expressed in football for 6 decades. You learned to be this big, strong, powerful personality in a public way to run from your trauma. And that's you know, in some ways, it's been on some level better than how your brother managed things, because your brother ended up like in a car, homeless, instead of in a stadium in front of thousands of people.
Yeah.
But um, but some people, their trauma is um, it's like a reason to hide from the world. It's a reason to mistrust everybody and to always feel like danger's around the corner and to feel humiliated. And
Mhm.
it's not 7-foot gorilla, right? It's like, I don't want anybody to see me,
Yeah.
right? And so, you know, people come from different places and they have different experiences and different ways of coping with things. And, you know, I'd love to talk to your brother. I'd love to have him.
I think I think I'll be connecting the two of you up sooner than later so we can try to get him on the show, because I think having Pat on the show will be um, extremely powerful.
Mhm.
And I know that it would help him a little bit
Right,
confidence wise.
right.
Like Bruce always said, like, don't let people push you. You push, you push, you push.
Mhm.
And, and that's the way you get through things and stuff like that. And my brother, I think, got tired of pushing, I still push to this day, and it's, hopefully at some point I'm not going to have to push. Hopefully I'm going to get fixed through you and continue to help us, because I enjoy helping other people.
Yeah.
I've helped more people than you can shake a stick at in um, doing things and getting things and accomplishing things. It makes me feel good,
Yeah.
so sometimes we look for things to try to compensate for other things, I guess, in our lives. Um,
No.
I'm proud of my brother. I'm proud that he's still breathing, because it would be very easy for him just to
Mhm.
say, screw it. As for me as well. I mean, I thought of it many times, right? So
And
it's,
his story could be as powerful as yours.
yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah. And, like I say, like, yes, I was raped. He
What
wasn't. But I mean,
Yeah,
it's the
I have
mental part of the thing
I have
that
a
really,
question for you. What happens if he doesn't come on?
well, then that's his choice. I mean, hopefully he'll at least talk to you or somebody and get some help. That's my wishes that he would have, because, he does need the help, just like I need the help, just like millions of other people need the help. So we need to get to that point where, and like I said, like like you said, it's brave of me or whatever. Well, I don't know. Like, it's not brave of me to come forward. It's the right thing to do to come forward, because as athletes and as this, it's a privilege, and we need to make. I just don't want people to run around and say, "Well, I'm great because I'm a football player." Big deal. I mean, I I want to affect change, and I want to make changes in other people's lives. So it's not brave. It's just Bruce taught that to me. He said, "Man, you get a platform. It's a blessing to play football. Every time you put that helmet on, it's right back there. Every time you put that on, it doesn't matter what level it is. It's a privilege and it's a blessing." And the fact that I was 61 years of age, still kicking the crap out of 20-year-olds, it's you know, I owe it. It's not that. It's not bravery. I owe it, and because of that, I hope that you know, I can get other athletes to come forward and say the same thing and do the same thing and make some impacts and do things, because we don't listen to politicians. We seem to listen to a lot to the athletes. So I'm just hoping that other athletes follow my tune and do this or join me in
I
helping kids.
I think that having the strongest among us, the on the public level,
Mhm.
come out and be vulnerable and talk about what has really gone on in their minds over the years.
Well, I was doing a podcast in Alberta uh, 2 months ago, and I had, people were commenting stuff like that. And one of the big followers on it, he was a head fire chief in Alberta for all of the province. So like
Right.
in the States, it'd be like all of the states. He's asked me if I'd be interested in being a motivational speaker at their convention coming up in the wintertime. I said, sure, I would be. But he actually came forward to talk about himself being abused And it's the first time he ever had the courage to do it. And he wanted to thank me for leading him to the trough, so to speak.
Mhm.
So that's the kind of stuff that I'm hoping that I'm going to keep on doing, is bringing more and more people forward, tell their stories on this platform, get it out, let people understand that, and it's not all got to be dark and stuff like that, all gloomy and all this kind of stuff. When somebody's been abused and they're successful and they're doing everything, that's a positive story. That's how I want to know what the Kool-Aid that person was drinking at a younger age to achieve that. Hopefully those stories will go to these other people and they go, I can do that. Seeing is believing, so let's all do everything. And it doesn't matter what color we are, it doesn't matter whatever it is, we're all humans. And like I've said before, like, love knows no color. So I'm hoping that this podcast and this stories that we hear, doesn't matter what culture you're from, that we can affect and make change and help people out. It's going to be an awesome experience if we can do that. We're going to reduce certain things. We're going to do things, and I just hope that people listen. I don't want people to feel sorry for me, because that's not what it is. I'm 61. I'm happy. I'm in a great place. I got a great relationship.
No,
I'm happy.
it's okay if you don't want people to feel sorry for you. I would hope that people would feel compassion, not just for you, but for anybody who's been through traumatic things, right?
Yes.
It's not the same thing as, feeling sorry for somebody.
Yeah.
But the world needs, more accurately placed compassion and
Mhm.
and sensitivity,
I just
to
hope
what
that I
goes.
can fan the fire, like fan those flames and get them going and stuff like that. And then having you working with me on this and showing people that this is what it's
Mhm.
all about. You want to fix yourself, find a friend like I got with Steve, get, listen, have talk. You be, like I said, you've earned brother status in my life, in such a short time. And you know more about me than most women that have been in my relationship, and it feels great to actually get that off of my chest a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't know the impact that you've had on me in such a short time.
And so there's a similarity between you and your brother,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Your brother holds things in and withdraws,
Mm-hmm.
but he's also not vulnerable and intimate. You are out there, you're extroverted, and you have a very powerful social presence, and you also are not have not been vulnerable and intimate until
Mm-hmm.
recently, right?
That's right.
These are two different ways of keeping the trauma under the surface.
Yeah.
And in, the the deeper part of it is the ability to be an intimate person,
Yeah.
and so you were talking about how, well, it's supposed to be the fathers that are this way and the mothers are the nurturers, and I'm saying that yeah, healthy men are also uh psychologically intimate people,
Mm-hmm.
and that's good for kids.
Yeah.
It's good for their kids, and it doesn't weaken them.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well, I
in
know
the
my
right
son. I know my son is proud of me. I know my son is proud of me.
I hear it.
He's and he's
Right.
told me that, and he's that I'm telling my story and I'm trying to fix myself. And
Yeah.
to me, that's the most important person that I need to impress.
Yeah.
Is that, and
What
hopefully show him that it's not hard to be vulnerable, not hard to be this stuff, because he's a good man. He's got a great woman in his life, and I hope to have grandkids, and hopefully he's going to be successful. He's a police officer. He decided not to play football any longer. He could have played pro, but he's gone to do that, serve and protect. And I'm truly blessed to have that part and that person look up to me. So he's my number one fan, as I'm his number one fan. I've always been so proud of my son and my kids. It's hard for me with my daughters. I'm estranged with them, and that's stuff we have to talk about later on a later show. But you know, I'm just glad that I've got this platform. I'm glad that I've got you. I've got all these people around me so that we can, tell this story and make some changes. But I guess we've got to sign off for today. Um, I want to thank
what What did you think about how I engaged with you today?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, this is what we need to do. I mean, we got to get the dialogue and stuff. And again, like I said, we're doing a show, and I know it's not a therapy session, but I know it's, for me, this is good therapy, you know, and it's great because it gets perspective and stuff. And the biggest thing is that I'm sharing it with everybody so everyone can understand it's not that fucking hard. You know, it's just find that person you're comfortable with, and they're going to make you look at yourself in the mirror a few times and go from there. And like I said, 61 was going to be a great year for me, and it's been a great year. And it's getting better every day, thanks to have friends like you and Andre, the producer, in there believing in this, in the idea and the concept. You know, getting this platform and getting these people and setting records and doing all that. This has been fabulous, and having 11 million people follow you. It's been incredible. So I just hope that everything, and I'm getting closure with the Salvation Army, and I'm getting this, I'm getting that. So there's like everything is positive, and it's all because I'm opening up. I'm getting rid of I'm trying to get rid of the anger. So people may see the show and goes, he's angry. Yeah, I'm angry, but it's leaving me. It's leaving me, and it's being replaced with other things. So again, I want to thank you. I want to thank Andre. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the listeners for tuning into the show today. I know it's kind of a different kind of show than what we originally were going to do today. But again, I want to thank everybody. And again, don't let people tell you who you're going to be. You tell people who the fuck you want to be. I'm Darin Burns. Thank you, Steve.
You're very welcome, Darin.